Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. As a reminder, Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by HomecircleMedia.com. For the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books, be sure to check out HomecircleMedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox. For all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs, be sure to check out Casey Fox. That's KAYCIFOXX on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Again, welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me in the co-host seats, as always, is our good friends Angela Rose.
Hello.
And, of course, Darren Starling is here. He has not died yet.
Give me time.
And we have two amazing guests joining us tonight. First guest is a photographer. He has worked with many conventions as liaison, volunteer work, somebody I've known for probably 6 or 7 years. And we've been trying to get him on the show. Please welcome Ken Sena, also known as Ken Irons.
Hi, how's it going?
And we are excited because we also have the overall winner of the Masquerade from Puchi in Teaneck, New Jersey. The cosplay was absolutely amazing. They were up on stilts. In fact, we want to show off a picture of them. I mean, this is just an amazing costume. And I think the judges told us that you had only been practicing for about a month and a half before this. So please welcome Mikey to the show. And we're excited to have you both on. Mikey, let's start with you. What was it like to be in the Masquerade at Puchi-Con? Your microphone isn't picking up anything. It's not showing that it's muted, but I don't know if you have a headset or. Unfortunately, we can't hear you at the moment. So while Mikey is we're trying to figure that aspect out, let's go to Ken for welcome, Ken, and thank you also for joining us.
No worries.
And the wonders of live podcasting, live radio. For our viewers out there who may not have gotten to New England area conventions, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
My name is Ken. If you've been in the New England area, you've probably seen me at Connecticon or Anime Boston or another Anime Con or Boston Comic Con when that was a thing. Now Wicked Comic Con, also Fan Expo Boston. I've worked at cons pretty much all over the East Coast. I own a photography company. I am actually by day, I am a technical service engineer at a robotics company, and yeah, I've been working with celebrity liaison and security work for about 17 years now. I'd say roughly about 17, 18 years now. I believe I started right around 17. So yeah, it's been a while.
Wow. And in your time of working with cons, you've done emceeing, you've done, like you said, guest liaisons, and
yeah, I've done everything. I have the best part is when you work for cons, every once in a while, they'll just kind of throw you into something and you'll just kind of run with it. I started working for cons by not working for a con. I started working for cons because I had made a point to attend several panels that a guest named Scott McNeil, famous for several voices from Beast Wars, as well as like Duo Maxwell from Gundam Wing. So I attended a lot of his panels, and one day I told him that I was going to bring him a giant box of Krispy Kremes. And this is another time back when cons weren't as big of a thing. So on a more personal level, people got to see you. There wasn't like thousands of people in an audience. So he was like, if you bring that to, I think I was at MegaCon, and he was like, if you bring that to MetroCon, then I will let you be my assistant all weekend. And I was like, done. Like absolutely, like done 100%. So then I showed up at MetroCon with a box of Krispy Kremes, and he's like, well, you're my assistant. So and that's how I started working for them. And then from there, I just kept running with it until I ended up working for, I don't know, everyone in New England. So
And Mikey, it sounds like you have a microphone
Yep.
and everything working. So welcome to the
Yay.
show.
Yeah. Well, with working on Sun was kind of a difficult task with months of getting everything kind of correct and all the hand sewing of each and every single one of the costume. Each and everything of the costume is handmade, sewn, made from cardboard, glue, paint, anything. Some things that you can find in your home, usually things that you can find in like a junk drawer or in like recycling bin. The stilts, I have to say, were kind of a little difficult to work with for a bit when I first tried them on, but when I got used to it, it was much more simpler and easier to work with.
And for the viewers out there who are just tuning in, we're going to bring the picture back up again. The outfit that you're seeing here with the Five Nights at Freddy Bear, which that was a great costume as well. It's cool that you were able to get a photo with them.
Yeah.
Were you expecting to be declared the overall winner of PuchiCon?
No, actually not. A lot of the other cosplays were very well done, and mine was just compact into one crazy thing. Yeah, I was on stilts and much more taller than mostly everybody in the convention. I've been to 2 conventions and seen nobody on stilts. But I'm more surprised that I did win.
And I think, in all honesty, I think it was very deserved of you to win because the outfit, like you said, you made everything yourself, and it was just fantastically done. And the fact that, like the sun moon head, you had that where it was able to spin.
that's so cool.
Yes.
Now, how long did it take you to get that working properly?
So it is so there are 3 things. It is combined with 3 circles. One is the base, the moon part, and another part that goes around my head. I just had to like cut a hole through it and like put a bolts so I can just make it spin. It's was very difficult to make it because I had to like because I wanted to like make it as perfect as I could be. It could be really.
What materials was that made out of?
All of that, everything on my anything that I'm wearing right now, it was made from cardboard. That is all made from cardboard, a very thick kind of cardboard and paper mache.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, very well built costume and very much deserved for the award that you had got. I know that we got a picture of you when you came by our table earlier in the day. And question from the chat room, Ross was asking, is it hard on stilts to walk around?
So, okay. The stilts are handmade, so they're made stilts. Some stilts are kind of a little more difficult to wear, but these were all made out of wood. I had to wear like it's kind of right on the top of your leg. It hurts really badly after. When you take them off, your legs just will be just bouncing up and down. It hurts a little bit, but you take it.
A lot of people say that there's a lot of pain in cosplay, but the cosplayers deal with it for the sake of the outfits and to be true to the characters.
Yeah.
Beauty is pain and whatnot.
Yep.
The first time I was on them at a convention was twice for 6 hours in a row.
Oh my gosh.
I refused to take them off. Even my parents tried to get me to get them off. I refused.
And there, I saw you unmute. Did you have a question?
Nope.
Always reliable.
I finally quit suffering.
Yay.
Just about everybody on tonight's show is has either been sick or is suffering from some sort of lag, because I was at Colossal Con East this morning, so driving back from the Pocono Mountains, about a 6-hour drive home. I got home about 2 hours ago, so if I'm a little out of it or exhausted, my apologies to everybody. It was a long weekend with little sleep.
And for me, it's allergies. Changing of the seasons has got to me.
And with Ken, you were talking about how you just kind of like, by giving a celebrity donuts, you got working for conventions. I think a lot of people who know you or who have seen you at conventions but don't know the story, where did Ken Sena come from?
So Ken Sena actually formed as a joke from the year that I was not at another anime con. So I attended, I think I've been at AAC in New Hampshire, Mass area for, I want to say close to a decade. And I've only missed 1 year since I've been going. And the 1 year I missed, of course, was the year that like Matthew Mercer was there and Taliesin Jaffe. So of course, you know, as a Critical Role nerd, as I'm wearing Critical Role merch, I was upset. But I went down because of it was a wedding from old high school friend, one of the few people that you still talk to from high school, you know, like 15 years later, and you're still impressed that you're still friends. And also we have a ton of stories, and I definitely owe him from those days. So it was one of those, you're going to my wedding, and I went, okay, I'm going to your wedding. Wasn't really a choice. So so that was the 1 year that I wasn't there, and essentially as John Cena's slogan was "You can't see me." Essentially, someone photoshopped my face onto John Cena's body and then posted it all over the convention with the "You can't see me," and that's just what happened. So the worst part about it was that I was randomly getting calls from the convention of like friends that may or may not have been inebriated, like screaming Ken Sena and like playing the John Cena music, with zero knowledge of what was going on, like at all. I had zero clue. No one had told me this was a thing.
Oh my God.
And I just started getting tagged in things like saying, you know, seeing Ken all over AAC was the best part. And I was like, what are these people talking about? Like, I'm sitting in Florida, so confused. And I didn't learn until about a week later when someone finally tagged me in the picture of the Photoshop, and explain the situation. I was like, that is amazing. And why? And they didn't have a reason. They were just like, we wanted you to be here, buddy. And I was like, cool. So yeah, so that's where it came from, but it just kind of stuck for a while. Actually, I think that followed me for like 3-4 years. And yeah, that was that was fun explaining every time. People are like, where, how'd you come up with that? And I'm like, I didn't. They're
Like,
like,
I was just up that.
I just wasn't there, and that's what happened. And that's what happens when you get very creative people that are bored, and they'll find ways to honor you.
Yep.
Now, Mikey, you said that you have, how many conventions have you been to? Was it only 2?
This is like 3. I'm going to be in October.
Oh, sweet. Wow. Where are you headed to in October?
It is in New Brunswick. I'm going to make Sun into a little fairy for Halloween.
Oh, sweet.
As a little joke. He's going to have a little tutu and fairy wings and a little sun fairy wand.
Oh, awesome. Now, was this cosplay your first costume that you've made, or have you made others previously?
Usually in October, I usually go all out. I turned a Spirit Halloween normal clown costume into like a very well detailed, kind of like a really creepy clown costume. I done many costumes with a crazy mind and always just wanted to keep making more things, but Sun was like mostly one of like the biggest cosplays I have made.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome, by the way. It looked really cool.
And I know that we talked with you briefly at PuchiCon because being up on stilts, you were constantly on the go. A lot of people asking for photos and things
Mhm.
like that. Did you expect to get such a warm reception from your outfit as you did?
The first convention, no, I did not expect anything. But when I went into the certain area and I met a certain, I forgot her name. It was a voice actor. She sent a photo to Kellen, the voice actor of Sun. So that was like one of the best things that ever happened when something so small, of a small little cosplay that I made turned into this crazy wide thousands of people like saying, "Can we take a picture? Can we take a picture?" I got many cards. I like kind of like business cards. A lot of like young children coming up and say, "Can we take a photo?" I was like, "Heck yeah, sure." And I just took so many photos. My poor friend was holding my bag, just standing there taking photos.
That's what they sign up for when they go with you, right? It's like
Yeah.
Yep.
you are basically my helper, my eyes, because when you have that mask on, I'm sure you
Mhm.
really can't see hardly anything at all.
So I'm going to make Moon soon. That's the thing, and we're gonna make it so I have both of my eyes. Because the eye socket that is on Sun's is fits my glasses, but I can't wear my glasses with the mask, so I'm not wearing my glasses right now. So
Ah, it like I said, the outfit looked amazing, and for anybody who has seen Mikey in person and seen this costume, it is absolutely phenomenal. If not, I hope that people can get out to more events that you're going to be at. I hope you continue to wear this to more
Mhm.
conventions. Now, are you stay local to New Jersey conventions, or do you travel out a little bit?
I'm gonna try to stay to local in Jersey because I don't have the money to like go across the world, and plus with school and stuff, that's another thing that can cause an issue.
I can understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, uh, when you we had sponsored PuchiCon, both their Pennsylvania and their New Jersey, and at the prize for winning the overall was being a guest on the show. Did you know that when you found out that you had won, or was it kind of a surprise when we reached out to you?
Um, when I it was like months before I went, I kind of just like shot a little thing to be in it because I was like, probably not gonna win. Just went in just blind, didn't know anything, didn't know any of the prizes, didn't know nothing. But when I got the call the next day, I was at a friend's. I'm like, I get the call the next day. I was like, what? And I freaked out. I'm freaking out. I'm like, and my friend was freaking out with me. So it was like one of the biggest things that happened.
Because I believe you had left before they announced everything
Yeah.
at the end, which we've seen happen at quite a few conventions recently with masquerades, where people leave before all the winners are announced, and half the time the winners aren't even in there anymore. Um, but that's cool that you were able to share that enjoyment, finding out that you had won with your friend.
Hmm.
And Ken, you have emceed some masquerades in your time.
I have. I actually was in one too a long time ago. Not many people associate me with that, but yeah, that was a long time ago. I was actually in one and I won it. I won several awards actually in it.
What were you cosplaying?
I was cosplaying James from Pokemon.
I could see
And
that.
yeah, and it was a long time ago, and it was at Anime Boston, and we actually won a ton of awards, and it was a lot of fun. It was terrifying. It was the first time that I had entered a masquerade as well. And we won like 3 awards, I want to say 2 or 3 awards, and it was so much fun. It was terrifying at the time. Yeah, but since then I have emceed quite a few masquerades and quite a few events, which is a ton of fun.
And I will say it was seeing Ken emceeing I think it was AAC's Masquerade one year. I was like, I like this guy. I like his energy. I need to talk with him, and I need to get him on the show because he's just you just have like there are some people who just have that outgoing energy that's very warm, welcoming, and just fun to be around. And you are one of those people, so that's why I've been hounding you for years to come on.
And I feel so bad. Yeah. So for the last few years, I've been, full-time school, full-time work, which just, killing you when you're in your, late 20s, early 30s, and you're trying to go back to college, but you still got to pay for everything. And so that was a whole adventure. So I had zero free time for like the last, I don't know, 5-6 years. And I'm finally here. I'm free. I have my job in my field of study, and I'm happy. And now I get to do these things, which is great. Because as soon as you asked me, I was like, yes, I can. Like, just reach out. I find like for the first time, I can just say yes, and it's great to be able to do that. So, but yeah, no, I love emceeing. And I try to put out that warm feeling every time. I want people to feel like they can just come up and talk to me. That's I think one of the reasons why I was recommended, and I ended up emceeing for MSI gaming booth at PAX East. I was running all of their events 2 years ago, I believe it was. And it was so much fun. It was a blast, but it was great because I just got to be on a microphone and just be myself for like 4 days and just have people come up and play League of Legends, which I unfortunately have that addiction. So, but it was a ton of fun.
I used to have that addiction, and then I kind of got out of it because I had divorced my ex-wife. I used to play with her brother all the time, and then just haven't touched it since leaving. And that was 2012. So
you're probably for the better.
So I haven't touched it in like 10 years.
League of Legends, I never actually got into the game. I just know a bunch of people that do and have seen all the cosplays, and and I remember seeing the booth a couple of years in a row at PAX East.
Yeah, they went all out. Yeah, PAX or League is just one of those things that like I've been playing since season 1, so like I've been there through it all. Actually, my roommate, I can blame. He moved to Ecuador, so I can't actually blame him anymore. He's gone now. But I would yell at him constantly for getting me addicted to League of Legends because I've been playing it ever since. But yeah, like, no, the community, the games, go ahead.
For so many years at PAX East, the joke was always amongst my crew was, if we don't recognize the cosplay, it's probably League. And over the past,
now it's Genshin.
I was getting there. Past like year and a half post pandemic, it's turned into Genshin. Is the if we don't know it, it's probably Genshin.
That's fair. That's actually I'm at that point now. I'm definitely at the point where I'm like, I don't know anything that's going on anymore. Just because I had no free time for so long that I didn't have time to like watch anime or play video games. I'm actually just watching Demon Slayer now, which is fun because one of my good friends, Brandon McInnes, is Gyutaro in season 2. And I always feel bad because I literally just worked a convention with him and his fiance, Michael Tatum. And I always feel bad because they're like, yeah, I just got this new role. And I'm like, cool. I'll watch it eventually, man. Like one day I'll know what you're talking about. And
Demon Slayer, I need to go back and finish.
Yeah, Demon Slayer is I'm on episode 8 of season 2, and it is after the movie broke my heart. I wasn't prepared for that, but like there was no advisory warning for how it was going to make you cry like a child, but like it was rough.
I see you nodding your head, Mikey.
Yeah.
I'm only partway through season 1. We kind of found it late.
Okay, so after you watch season 1, watch the movie. And if you're watching on Funimation, for some reason they have it listed weird. So it'll show you like the TV version of the movie, kind of similar how Dragon Ball Super has TV versions of the movies where like they're broken up into several episodes and they're not as well animated. But if you just scroll all the way down, you'll find the movie, and that's how you want to watch it. And it's Oh, it is. It's no, no one is ever prepared. It's not up there with like Assassination Classroom, but like it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. So
I will come out and say I give most animes a 3-episode trial. I gave Demon Slayer 6 and couldn't get into it.
that's fair. Yeah, and like I think the reason why I started to like distance almost myself, not necessarily from like the community, but like from like watching it hardcore, or at least what made it easier to distance myself was the fact that like so many people are so diehard for or against things, and I've always just been the type who's like, nah. Like, I mean, I had the friends that were hardcore into Naruto, and they're like, you gotta watch it, and I was like. And eventually I got into it and I loved it and that was great. Like, and then, you know, friends who were hardcore into One Piece, I was like, and then I eventually watched it and I eventually loved it and cool, we're good. But like, there's a ton that people are just like, you have to see this, and I'll watch it and I'm like, I just hate it. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't care. And like, they're like, how can you not? Like, you need to donate your lifeblood to this show. And I'm like, I really don't. Like,
this is why I dislike fandoms.
Yeah, fandoms ruin everything. Like,
because like
a show could be good or bad. The fandom could destroy a good show.
Like one for me that I just never got into that everyone seems to love is One Punch Man. Just not my thing.
Yeah,
never got into it. I can respect the fact that it's quality for what it is.
Yeah.
But I just could not stand it, and like people just did not understand that.
Honestly, like I think like it's kind of like movies though. Like, you know, nowadays unless it's like a Marvel like big title movie, but like think about like your average movie, the ones that don't cost like $500 billion to make. Like people will watch it and have various differences with it. You know, some people love it, some people hate it. You know, if you ask people what their favorite movies that aren't comic or anime genres are, you're going to have this wide variety of styles and types. And like, you know, for me, A Beautiful Mind is always on like my top 10 list just because the cinematography is incredible. You know, the story is so eloquently written and, you know, it just keeps you going throughout the entire movie. But some people could watch that movie. And I remember being in like high school, loving that movie and people being like, that movie's so boring. Like, yeah, we get it. Like he's, you know, he's kind of out there and it's like, okay, yeah, but like there's so much in depth to it. So like, I understand, but like people just in normal things, people don't like, I don't know, invest their entire livelihood into it. And I feel like with anime and video games and stuff like that, people are like, you have to like it. Otherwise we're going to have problems. And it's like, I mean, and we're not like,
and no, diehard sports fans are the same way. And most sports fans, although I think that's changing, dislike actually are the other end of the spectrum. Most of them don't do a lot of video games unless it's sports related.
Yeah, I would say like sports fans are the biggest weebs. Like they're like they cosplay all the time. Like
I'm raising hand because being from Massachusetts, I've gone to many Red Sox games wearing Red Sox outfits, gone to Patriots games with Patriots jerseys. And, you know, growing up through the late 70s, early 80s, 90s, early 2000s Red Sox, as a Boston fan, you're almost bred to hate the Yankees.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I don't like the Yankees, but I respect their history.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. It's like saying, you know, you hate the 90s Dallas Cowboys, and it's like, why? Because they won a lot. Like, you know?
Now I have a story behind that. My mother is from Buffalo, New York.
Oh, so okay, never mind. I understand why your mother hates them.
I grew up watching the Buffalo Bills 4 choked Super Bowls in a row. The last 2 of them were against the Cowboys. So there's that.
When I was young, what Bills stands for?
What?
Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
Oh man. I remember growing up and not like fully comprehending football at that time. I want to say like what year was like Dallas.
I know I'm going to get butchered in the chat.
The Cowboys 2 in a row was 92 and 93.
Okay. So I was like 7.
The only reason I know this is because my little sister was born in January 1992.
Okay, there you
During
go.
the 93 Super Bowl, she took her first steps,
Oh,
like literally as the Bills started to choke.
oh. Yeah, I just remember not really comprehending football at the time and not understanding that the Super Bowl meant you had to win all these games to get there. I just thought it was a very important game and two random teams were chosen for this very important game. And I remember watching the Super Bowl year after year and just being like, why are the Bills so terrible? Like, I don't like, and I kept asking people, I was like, why are they so bad? And like, the responses for people who knew about sports were like, what are you talking about? Like, they're the best in their league. Like, they made it to the Super Bowl every year. And I'm like, yeah. And then they just threw it all away. Like, what do you like? I'm so confused. And they're like, no, but they had to win all of these games first. And I was like, oh, wait, that's how it works? Like, oh, okay. So I legit just didn't know how football worked as a kid. There you go. See, there you go. Thank you, Ross. Like, yeah.
See,
Sports ball, man.
Sports ball.
and I'm amused by how much. I think to kind of circle back, I am surprised by how much sports anime there is now, and how much of it is insanely popular.
And how many sports athletes are into anime?
Yeah.
Which
Or
is-
like just celebrities now. Celebrities just come out like what was it? Michael B. Jordan had a Naruto and Gucci like team up or something like that, or Naruto and Louis Vuitton, one of them. And I was like, what? Like, what is this? Is this our life right now? Like, what is this?
And then there was a thing going around social media. Megan Thee Stallion did a thing with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, and she was just on She-Hulk too.
Yep. And
Welcome to Anime-Zing Radio, where we talk anything and everything.
Yeah, right.
everything goes back to anime in some way, shape, or form.
It really does. Honestly, so I've never been a car guy, and like short version of this was like I always wanted to be, because my older brother was one of those guys who like could take apart like a lawnmower and then somehow motorize his bicycle. Like he was just one of those guys, just very mechanically inclined, and I just wasn't. I just never got it. So I went to high school and there was a class that was specifically for this stuff where they taught you how to, like, I had to take apart a Briggs and Stratton motor and then put it back together. All this old school stuff. And by the third year, you had to be approved by the teacher to get into the third year of that class. And I was blatantly told that I was not good enough to be in that class. Like, he was like, you have no interest in this stuff. And I'm like, I do. And then he's like, well, then you're just really not good at it. So you just need to like move on. So I've never been like a car guy as it were. But I'm now finding out that all the car guys that I know love Initial D and like all the other like car drifting animes and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, so you're all just weebs, but like of a different variety. Like you're a different like genre of weeb, but like they're like, well, it's because they use real cars. I'm like, yeah, but you're just a weeb. Like that's cool. Like that's awesome. And they're like, well, yeah, I'm not gonna watch this anime, but like, Initial D is pretty cool. And like, I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah,
Mikey,
everything comes back to anime.
Mikey, what kind of shows do you enjoy watching?
Really anything that is like horror or like graphic. I like anything that's like horror related, anything that puts you on your feet. Black Phone was like one of the ones that I started to get attached to. I dragged like my friends like 2 times to the movie theaters just to see it because they were like, why do you like this movie so much? I'm like, I just liked how everything was and how it is like like it actually shows like it's how they made it look like it was like part of like the 70s, I think it was made in. Yeah, the 70s. And showing how a person could do this to these young boys and make it into like a really intense movie. I just liked how intense it was.
I'm a big horror fan, and I still haven't seen it yet. But I'm so happy that you're giving it such high praises because I know it's on some streaming service now, and I definitely want to watch it. So
It does trigger people with like abuse. It does show like abuse from a father. So that's a thing that I usually tell people. Like there are some things that could trigger people with like things that are in the movie that could trigger people. So I usually say if you like scary movies, see Black Phone. If you like to be on your feet, see Black Phone. But if you have triggers like these things, I think it won't be good for you.
fair.
And I think that's a good warning to anybody who's into it, who has thought about that as well. It's good to know that there are triggers in there, especially in this day and age where everybody seems to have a trigger for something.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank you for putting the warning out there for our viewers who might be interested in watching that.
Yeah.
I am definitely not a horror person. I am more of the happy-go-lucky type stuff.
Fair.
Ross says Black Phone was awesome, but the sister was weird in the movie, and he didn't understand her.
The sister is. I feel like the sister was much more understandable, that she could see. She was another part of the movie that helped you figure out, helped the police figure out what was going on and who done it, all the victims, seeing that somehow some middle school girls' dreams could help the police find her brother. So it's kind of it was like kind of little hard to grasp that, but when you see it like so many times, when you see it like I see it like 3 times already, you understand.
So it kind of bridges into that supernatural element in the movie.
Cool. Yeah.
And Ross says it was her powers that made it hard to understand, but there are, not being a horror person, but hearing it and being somebody who's been involved in the paranormal since I was 19, so about 25 years now, I can see where you're coming from, and from the research and stuff that I have seen done based around, especially teenage girls, as going through body changes and stuff. It has been documented that energies can change. There's been cases where a young girl turning into an adult has triggered things and stuff of that nature. So it's not uncommon. And the fact that this is in a movie, so I can understand that aspect of it, coming from the paranormal researcher, being a ghost hunter myself and stuff, been on multiple investigations and stuff, which I know you were talking about J. Michael Tatum earlier. He's actually asked me questions about my experiences with the paranormal, which had caught me off guard when he was on the show years ago.
Yeah, he does did a show. I'm not sure if they're still doing a show.
I think they're still doing it, because we saw Jamie Markey at Connecticon this year.
Yeah,
and she was still showing that, check us out, Cool Intentions.
Yeah, so he's definitely obsessed with that stuff. He loves hearing tellings and whatnot of that. Yeah, we frequently talk about that. I was actually really sad because one of my favorite spots to visit, I recently attempted to visit, and they had torn it down, and it was an abandoned mansion that was turned into like an insane asylum, and it was like just great history, great like, and in all fairness, the structure was really sturdy for the most part. So I was really sad that recently I just went over there and visited, and it was torn down, and I just didn't know when they tore it down, and I was like, no more going and showing people and hanging out.
For me personally, my favorite spot that I've investigated, and I've been locked in overnight twice, was Rolling Hills in Batavia, New York. And this place has appeared on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventurers. In fact, I always jokingly called it the Screaming Banshee Show, but it was the British paranormal investigators who would scream over every little thing. They had come to the U.S. and had gone to Rolling Hills.
That's cool.
So being locked in there twice, I experienced a lot of stuff. So that was always one of my favorite spots.
Yeah, I went to New York and I went to the I was filming the abandoned ship graveyard that's over in Staten Island. And so that was really cool because I got a lot of cool drone footage of that. And a buddy of mine who does the urbex stuff said there's a lot of like famous or like abandoned places there that are worth going and checking out. A lot of rich history and paranormal history, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to, except I'm here for like a day. So, and I also crashed my drone on one of the abandoned ships and had to climb up it to get out. So it was long time for me, so I didn't spend I didn't end up going.
Whoops.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of abandoned spots in Massachusetts if you know where to look.
Yeah,
The Lizzie Borden house is like one of the most things that I was interested in.
The house
cool.
itself is cool. I've done the Lizzie Borden tour, and I've actually gone and visited her gravesite, the cemetery that she's buried in. There's actually like footsteps painted on the path to lead you right to her grave. And
yeah, Lizzie Borden was like one of the things that kind of made me like, I like horror. I like these things that are mysteries that made me like, I like this stuff. I did a whole PowerPoint on her, like
That's cool.
for school. So I learned a lot about her.
and it's interesting that like the case, even to this day, with all the forensic and stuff, people still don't know really what happened or who did it. I don't think they never solved it. To see the house with a lot of the historical stuff from the time still there. The exact couch is not there, but they have an exact replica, which they will tell you. They're not trying to falsify anything. When I did the tour, they were upfront and honest about everything. This is where this happened. Here's the actual photos, which people have seen numerous times. When we did our like public tour through there, I didn't experience anything out of the ordinary. I know they have like a doll there, or no, I think it was a Ouija board that somebody stole once, and then had so much paranormal activity happen that they sent it back to the Lizzie Borden house with an apology note saying, "We took this. We're sorry. Please make it stop." That's like, you did it to yourself.
What about the Robert doll? That's the thing that was like what I heard. The Robert doll.
I think that might, like I said, I thought it was. I couldn't remember if it was a doll or a Ouija board, because I know that there was experiences with both of those that they were talking about. I might have been the doll that got taken.
I think no. There's something called Robert the doll.
Oh.
The same thing like that. If you take a picture without axing him, he will like some creepy stuff like bad luck will happen. Even with the Annabelle doll, I wanted to go to the what's their name?
Oh, the Warrens?
The Warren Museum.
Warren Town. Yeah, I wanted to go there. Halloween, I wanted to go. Sleepy Hollow. That's one of the places I want to go.
Yeah.
Like Salem is a nice place to visit
Salem,
too.
Yeah. My friend went to Salem.
And Salem's a lot of fun. It just gets very, very tourist filled during October. And that's of course when everyone wants to go there. But that's also when it's like the prettiest too, because that's when all the leaves are now orange and yellow.
But at the same, like you said, it gets very touristy. It gets very packed. If you want a true feel of Salem and you want to go around and see all the historical locations and stuff, it's better to go early spring as the weather's warming up, where it's still comfortable. You don't have to deal with the humidity and stuff of that nature. Because we've gone spring, we've gone summer, and beautiful location. You can walk around. There is some tourists, but it's not overcrowded like it would be in October, Halloween time, because everybody wants to be there. And we went to a spot that is marked as the actual location where the tree was, where they would burn the witches. And they did a lot of research trying to figure out from old maps and stuff, and they believe they pinpointed the exact location. So there is a memorial there for the 13 women who were killed, or the 13 people who were killed, tried as witches.
I think there's a tree that has this woman's initials engraved into the tree. It was like she was getting burned alive, and all of a sudden, like, smoke happened and she was gone, like no trace of her, and just you just saw her initials graved into a tree. I don't know where it is, but I heard something like that.
I would believe that. There's a lot of stuff in this world that we don't fully understand, and even like what you look at, like the anime world, and there are so many shows that involve spirits, and some of them, like Ghost Stories, kind of like a lighthearted spoof on the spirits. You have Ghost Hunt, which was a great one for paranormal investigations, where they tried to teach you more about the lore of the spirits in Japanese history, what they believe, and things of that nature. And that's gone on for years with spirits throughout anime, throughout movies, throughout human history. Basically, all forms of entertainment seem to have ghosts or something in some sort. And I also personally, I feel like Hollywood movies, things like that, a lot of people are afraid of ghosts because of what they see portrayed in movies, TV shows, things of that nature, more of the scary horror aspect, outside of like Casper the Friendly Ghost, which was like, oh, look, this is a cute little ghost and stuff. But my personal experience is, yes, there are some evil things out there that you cannot see, but most ghosts were just people, and if you treat them with respect, a lot of times you get the respect back.
Right.
And that's just my personal experiences. I don't go in like the Ghost Adventurers crew when I first started watching them, and they just go in there and start belittling and just trying to get, I don't instigate ghosts, don't instigate something you can't see.
Yeah. It's like all the people that invite things. It's like, just don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, I've seen stuff in my house multiple times before. Even when I was like 10, I saw something in my window that freaked me out. That was like the thing that scared me so half to death. I was like 10. First, like, couple times home alone. Did not kept. I always had like the fear of like something in a window. That was like, seeing that again. That was not fun. It was just a very tall black figure with the giantest smile on its face, and I ran.
Yeah, I could see you being extremely afraid of seeing something like that, especially at 10. I also wonder, because like growing up as a kid, I had imaginary friends. Getting into adulthood, I had a traumatic experience where I had a young family member who died in a car accident. That kind of helped me open the door to understanding psychic ability a little bit, which I have played around with to the point that I can consider myself a psychic medium. I've helped out paranormal teams with it, and actually have said things in locations that I know nothing about and had it verified by experts of those locations, which when that happens, I'm usually just as shocked as they are, because I just go up strictly off the feelings of the energies that I feel around. I haven't played around with it in a long time, especially like focusing on anime, doing this show for 8 years, almost 8.5 years now. Good God, I'm old.
We're all old to some degree or another.
Exactly.
Except Ken, he never ages.
I don't know about that. I'm definitely feeling it. Yeah, one of the places that I really like to go is Essex in England, and I would love to find like, people don't seem to know where she was buried or if she was buried. There's not a lot of history post execution, but I would love to go to the places that she was known to like frequent, and it's Mother Waterhouse or Agnes Waterhouse, and she is the first woman who was tried and executed for witchcraft in England, and like the original town doesn't even really exist. anymore, like the way that it did back then. So there's only like 3 or 4 buildings that still exist from that time. And they're commercial buildings, but I would love to just go there because I've seen like people who were like on the hunt and they found like places that she was known to like play and stuff like that. And I was like, I would just love to go there and like, just to feel the energy and check it out. Just 'cause she was, I mean, horrifically mistreated, I suppose, and depending on how it was viewed, I suppose, at the time. But it was a very interesting story. If you look it up, she has a very there's like a demon dog involved and different things, so it's very interesting. She has a very interesting rich history as being the first woman executed for witchcraft. So, well, in England.
That is kind of neat. I didn't actually know that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for the information. Something to look into later.
That's what I aim for. Education.
And something potentially depending to add to my vacation list.
There you go. See?
Because I'm going to London next month, so.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I have a full paid trip to Japan. Fully paid Airbnb. I have all the money in the flight tickets, everything that's been sitting there for 3 years now because of COVID. And
that's this trip was originally supposed to be February of 2021.
Yep. Yeah. It's I was supposed to go in March of 2020, I think it was, and that was like right as it was hitting us. And
Japan was already locked down by then.
Yep. So that was but we had bought the tickets the year before. So I literally went to Japan and then got back and in like 3 months bought more tickets to go back to Japan. So I was like, it's been too long already.
Japan we did in 2018.
Nice.
My husband and I, that was our honeymoon, was 14 days in Tokyo.
That's awesome.
And we did the math and realized that we could afford to leave the country every 3 years, COVID notwithstanding.
Right.
And subsequently let's go back to Japan, but let's go everywhere else.
Right. Honestly, the food in Japan is enough to make any human being want to go back to Japan. I've literally told people there's only 2 reasons I want to go back to Japan, and that's food, and then also to finally finish my hike of Mount Fuji because I didn't get to go because like the days that we had cleared out for the hike, it was like a monsoon, and we could not do anything. But it was there's like, but the food alone is.
The food alone was worth it.
And he's got the luck of Chris Broad trying to see Mount Fuji. Been there like 8 times, and it was finally on his 9th attempt, I think it was, he finally got to see Mount Fuji because it cleared up enough.
Climbing Mount Fuji is a bucket list thing. The other thing to go back for in Tokyo proper is the Ghibli Museum.
Oh, I did that last time. Yeah. Yeah, I lucked out.
Jealousy.
Yeah, so the trick is with the Studio Ghibli Museum is they are ridiculously quick at selling out tickets, and they're cheap. They're like $20 tickets. That's why they sell out like instantly. And what it is they sell, I think it's 2 months in advance or a month in advance, and they release like 2 months at a time. So what it is it's like, okay, 2 months in advance, they'll release 2 months open, and then you have like 6 hours to buy tickets or else they're sold out again.
Yup.
Yeah.
From Ross, is it crowded and busy like the show in the anime and videos? The answer is it depends.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it really depends on where you go. The subway is. The subway, you are going to be cuddling people whether you like it or not.
I will say this. Towards the end of our trip, we crossed off everything that we had on our must-do list.
Mm-hmm.
And we had train passes good for the entire trip. So we would literally get off at random spots.
Yeah.
Just because looking out the window, hey, that looks cool. Let's get off at the next spot and go find it.
Nice. That's really cool.
One thing we did was my husband, a huge Digimon fan. And there was a building in one of the Digimon games And so he's like, and it was literally in the game, it's a replica of what's there, to the point where you cannot go up from floor 2 to floor 3. You have to go up 2 to 4, a walk across, and then back down to 3.
That's cool.
And
Yeah,
they do that in the game, and we actually did this in real life.
Yeah, if you ever go to Japan, anyone who's listening, anyone who's watching, if you ever have intentions of going to Japan, the thing that Angela just referenced, the JR Rail Pass, is a must. You have to get it. It's not like an optional thing unless you're renting a car. But it covers all of your subway tickets and 90% of all trains. The only one that doesn't cover is the super fast bullet trains. And those are like the ones that go like 250 miles an hour. And that's
covers limited bullet train, like within a certain radius.
Yeah, it's basically
we just looked this up like a couple hours ago.
Yeah. So basically, what it is there are 4 lines that it does not cover, and then it covers all the rest. So we ended up getting stuck in Hiroshima because we went to Miyajima Island, and I didn't do the math the day before, so we started in Shinjuku, and we traveled from Shinjuku to Hiroshima, and then Hiroshima to I forget the exact stop where Miyajima Island is, but then you had to take a ferry over to the island, then go to the gate in the water, the giant toy gate in the water, and then we made our way back. And then basically they're like, yeah, there's no more trains that go to Shinjuku, and we're like, but we see one. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not covered by the JR Rail Pass. And we're like, that's fine, we'll just buy a ticket. And they're like, yeah, it's like $180. And we're like, we won't buy tickets. Absolutely not.
That is the conversation we were literally having like right before the show.
Yeah, it was not fun, and they just don't care. They're like, nope, doesn't cover it. Sorry.
Hiroshima is not something we did in 2018, and that's our plan for. We've basically planned out every trip to Japan is going to be cover a different region.
Yeah, that's cool.
So going from Tokyo west is going to be next time.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that,
went everywhere.
And then after that, up north.
Yeah. I want to go up north because that's where all the drift racing is. Like that's where all the actual mountain racing people spending like $150,000 on cars and then crashing them off the side of a mountain. Look at all that stuff, like the crazy stuff. The initial D stuff happens up north, so that's what I want to go see.
I just want to go
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to go. One of the things I want to do when next time I go at some point to Japan is go to a baseball game in Tokyo.
Yes, their events. They're crazy. People go nuts. Like there are times where you're like, it's like a whole show when you go to a baseball event. Like there are times when you need to sit up and scream. There are like responses that you yell back to the announcers. It's nuts. It was like when I saw Baby Metal in concert, and it was the only like interactive concert I've ever been to.
I'm jealous.
Baby Metal was fantastic live.
Yeah, they're nuts. Like they were at House of Blues Boston, and it was so cheap. It was like
were we at the same concert?
Yeah, if you went to the Boston one like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
2019.
Yeah,
2019 House of Blues on September 11th.
I had already moved to New York at that time.
But yeah, that was
nuts.
Yeah,
it's also where I fell in love with that Swedish circus style band that was before them. I can't remember their name right now. I'll have to look it up. It was a dude. He came out and he had the most metal voice ever, and like it was a very like dramatic showing type band.
It almost reminded me of the guy from My Chemical Romance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was getting massive MCR vibes, the whole thing. And then at the very end, when he's done singing all these crazy songs, he comes out and goes, okay, thank you very much. Like, we had such a good time here. And I was like, there ain't no way. Like, there's no way that's the guy who's just been like screaming like metal stuff the whole time. Like this dude is a Swedish fish. I love this man. Like, he's like, okay, thank you.
So this weekend I got to cross another bucket list item, and I got Friday night was Rammstein at Gillette Stadium.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I bought that concert ticket in 2019. The original date was Labor Day 2020. It just happened 2022.
I'm legitimately jealous.
And I know, Mikey, that you only have about another half hour to stay on with us. So a few more questions for you. I know you were listening to a lot of the talk about them going to Japan. I'm jealous because I've never been out of the country. Farthest I've traveled is like Ohio and one trip to Florida when I was really young.
Mexico, Virginia, Pennsylvania, California, Florida.
Wow. And I've never left the East Coast.
Too many places. I can't keep count.
Yeah, the two when I'm not watching anime or playing video games, the two big things on my to-do list are concerts and travel.
Also, Mikey, don't worry. I didn't leave the country until I was 29. No, sorry, 31. 31 is when I finally actually left. 29 was when I was like, I'm going to do it. And then I didn't. But then I didn't leave the country till I was like 31. You got tons of time to travel.
Angela gives me crap. I'm 44. Don't even have a passport.
There you go. See? So yeah. So like,
No,
I need to
me
get
and my
one.
friends are just gonna fly away, going anywhere.
No,
yeah.
Now that I think about it,
it just unlocks wings.
Canada, not Niagara Falls, notwithstanding. Yeah, no. Canada, I've done a lot just being in the Northeast. Outside of that, I was in my middle 30s when I actually left the country.
Yeah, I mean, like it usually takes time. My best advice is if you do want to travel, look up websites like skiplagged.com. That is my absolute favorite website, like in existence. That's how I got round trip tickets to Japan for $752. So, like it is amazing. And if you sign up with like your Facebook or you make an account with your Facebook, you can actually track the trends of when to buy the tickets. So it literally draws you like a bar graph. And it's like, if you buy it in 2 days, it's like $200 cheaper. And you're like, well, then I'll just buy it 2 days later and go then, it's great. So, yeah, it's actually a really cool website, that I used, and Airbnb, pretty much everything. That is, Airbnb is so much cheaper than hotels. It is so much cheaper than hotels.
And now you said you like a lot of the horror shows and stuff like that. Is that primarily the type of cosplays that you want to do in the future? Is a lot of horror stuff, or do you want to branch off into other game styles, anime styles, or what?
I want to try to do some horror things, but I don't know yet. Probably Sun and Moon are going to be the only one on stilts. I'm thinking of other things I'm probably going to make, and maybe creepy things. I don't know yet. I'm going to try to make something.
Have you thought about doing any of the Dead by Daylight killers yet, or?
I thought of doing Ghostface once. Nice. I'm like, I feel like I should do it, but at the same time, like, maybe not. I'm still going back and forth.
You should do it.
Yeah. I'll
if it's something you'd like to.
If there's one thing I can say, if there's a character or a story that speaks to you, embrace it.
I think that was like Sun and Moon, because of 2 different personalities, one joyfully one and one like, I'm gonna chase you around until you go to bed.
And no, Darren, she's not referring to Sun and Moon Pokemon. Darren is our resident Pokemon expert who, when we did a Pokemon special, missed it.
Sleeping off a migraine or something of the like.
By the way, the band's name was Avatar. And if you ever just want to laugh, just look up Avatar. The band.
Son of a gun. I didn't know that was the band. Because long story short, due to, the buses and whatnot, we got to the show a little bit late. So we only caught about half the opener.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Their band name was Avatar. Is Avatar, I guess. they're from Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah.
and Ross with the Sun and Moon talks says it wasn't Darren who was thinking it, it was me. And a big hello to everybody who's tuning in. We've been having a lot of fun here tonight. We've got two amazing guests joining us on Anime-Zing Radio. We have Mikey, who won the overall Masquerade Judge's Choice, or the overall Masquerade award winner for Puchi Con in Teaneck, New Jersey, which, again, congratulations on that. Very well deserved. And once again, this is what they wore. The one with the stilts, the head spins, like absolutely amazing job that you did on this.
And everything being handmade, impressive.
I had to learn how to sew bells. I have bells all over it. There's dollar store bells, Michael's bells, anything. I just added a little more pom-poms to it. I have like a little rainbow on the side now.
Nice.
And how long did it take you to make that?
Okay. The pants took 3 days, thanks to my dad. Thanks. The mask took about 2.5 months. The chest plate took 3 days because I was rushing. These took 3 days. I made everything. There's 4 of these for each and every one of for each hand of mine, and I made like these in a week because of rushing. I was rushing.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I said amazing job with the outfit. Being lucky enough to have seen it in person. Pictures really don't do this outfit justice, and you did an amazing job on that. So I want to, again, I don't think that, because Angela, you were there as well when we saw Mikey come by the table, and I remember stopping, and I didn't, at the time that we stopped you, I didn't even know that the head spun or anything, because I really don't know the character, but I appreciate really good cosplays. And that's why we had to stop you to get a photo, not knowing that you were going to win the Masquerade, which, as you said, that was a complete shock to you because you weren't expecting much going into it. What was the judging like for you? Have you been in the Masquerades before, or was that the first time going through judging and things?
Yeah, first time anything judging. I did see some people that I saw last time. I'm happy that I saw them again. Really, I think when I was up there, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what am I doing? And then when we were talking about it, and they were surprised that I made everything handmade. I got this shirt off of Amazon. That's like the only thing that was offline. Took hours, was worth it. Got to meet very nice people, got to take many photos with fans of the character. That was fun.
And as you mentioned earlier, you actually had a voice actor who took your photo and sent it to their voice actor.
Yeah, I got to go on a phone call with him. Almost cried. I have a video of it. One of the things that I did not expect going into that whole thing was kind of like talking to the character, because I've been in the franchise since it first started. So it was like 7-8 years ago. So how like the franchise grown over the years, it's just more been a part of it since then. So yeah.
And that's one of the cool things about cosplay and the cosplay community. Going to the conventions is you never know who's going to stop you for a photograph. Fun story from Anime Boston. My wife cosplayed as Hibiki from How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. Was only able to wear it for a short time. The only person who got a photo of her in that outfit at Anime Boston was Brittany Lotta. And she only knew it was Brittany because we had gone through her autograph line earlier in the day. And Brittany's like, oh my God, my best friend voices this character. I have to send her this picture. So it's kind of neat the interactions you can have with even the voice actors when you least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying, that was something you never expected, and it has to have been one of the highlights for you of going to conventions and doing the costume.
Mm-hmm. I kind of begged my parents to go to another one. I was like, please, can I go? Please. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I will pay you back with this. And they said, fine. I'm like, thank you. And I got to meet my friends again. Finally got their Instagram, so I've been talking to them. Have the design for Sun in Halloween for Halloween. So that's going to be one of the most funniest things I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be like a fairy flying around.
Awesome. And before you go, we want to give you a chance to promote your Instagram, any social media, anywhere where people can see you with the outfits that you've created, the outfits that you're going to, I'm sure, continue to create in the future. Where can people find your work?
I usually use Instagram a lot. It is Mikey Potato _16. That's what I usually use. That's like my thing that's my Instagram. That's the only social media I have right now. Don't have a TikTok yet, but Instagram's like my way to go right now.
Awesome.
I do feel like you jumping around and videotaping some stuff as Sun with the audio clips from Sun would probably net you some views on TikTok.
Yeah.
FNAF is pretty popular there.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna like pop up on a video and just say hello, and I'm just gonna like bend down just on my stilts and just look at the camera. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's it'll get you there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
One more time, just because I didn't hear it, so I'm not sure if any of the anyone else. What was your Instagram? What was your normal?
Mikey Potato _16.
Mikey Potato.
Yep.
And that's MikeyPotaToe _16, just so people can get the spelling correct, because some people may not add the E to the end of potato. So
yeah, I just put the E. I just put the E for fun. I think it was funny.
Nothing wrong with that. We don't want to keep you any longer than you, knowing that you had to duck out in a little bit. But we do thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations again on winning the Masquerade at PuchiCon and for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that we're able to make more conventions out in the Jersey area and hopefully get to see you again in future outfits.
Yeah.
So once again, a big thank you to Mikey for joining us and wish you the best in all your endeavors in the future.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
And really excited that they were able to join us. A lot of fun talking with Mikey. The outfit, like I said, was absolutely amazing. So a very well-deserved win there. And of course, we still have Ken Irons, amazing convention personality.
Guy.
And I want to talk a little bit about your photography studio. You know, having lots of cosplayers and stuff on the show in the past. Do you do cosplay photography, or do you have specific things that you look at?
So for photography, I kind of just adapt to whatever's going on. I originally got into photography doing events. I got in doing like concerts and things like that. From there, I moved to portraiture, specifically cosplay, like going to cons and stuff like that. I had no intention of like being a con photographer or anything. I just wanted to take pictures, you know, like anyone going to any event. From there, I had some friends who wanted to do some like cosplay photography. From there, it slowly changed into like a strong portraiture aspect. So I do a lot of portraiture. And I do a lot of astrophotography. I try to travel as much as I can and do as much astrophotography as I can. I haven't done any deep space yet, but that's on the list. Yeah, and other than that, I just try to now I do a lot of weddings and a lot of just portraits of all different varieties.
That's cool.
Yeah. I just broke my teeth recently with doing a lot of fashion work, and I actually am helping redesign a website's full pages now. They're a bridal boutique. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but I'm sure you'll see it on my Instagram. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And earlier you were talking about your friends who are car guys getting into some of the different, animes involving cars. This was one of the things that we saw at PuchiCon. There were quite a few of these cars that were lined up.
Oh, that's awesome.
This car actually had two different characters on each side. This side was Love Live related, which I had to send to our friend Rob Keys, who is a huge Idol fan. Loves all things idols and VTubers. The other side had Magical Girl.
That's awesome.
And I think they had like 9 cars lined up. There was a car that was strictly all Urza from Fairy Tail.
Oh, yeah.
In the picture, you can see there's a Mazda that's basically a cow car. You had the car beside that was Initial D. What you can't see is the black car on the other side, which Spy Family.
Okay. So is that a Miata in the background? Is that the Mazda?
The cow car is a Mazda, yes.
Little baby Miata. I love it.
And we talked with the people who were who actually did all that. I believe this is their card. Yeah, this is their card called Livery by Design. So I want to throw a shout out to them. We were at Colossal Con East this weekend, and much to my surprise, 2 weeks ago, got an email saying we were approved for press. So it's like, okay, last minute, we're going to Pennsylvania.
That's awesome.
Actually, tying to the car theme, Ross said he saw a Torhu Dragon Maid truck yesterday.
That's so cool.
And Ross, which con were you at? I know that you had gone to a convention over the weekend as well. So give him a chance to respond. I forget which one, but he said that he had passed out some of our cards. He had asked for some business cards to help plug the show to the voice actors and people out there, which we really thank you so much, Ross, for the love that you've given us for years. Ross has been with us just about from the beginning, much like Darren has.
That's cool.
Now, for you, Ken, having worked many different angles of conventions,
mm-hmm.
What is one of your favorite? What would you say is your most favorite position to be? Would it be the liaison to the voice actors? Would it be MC? I know we're.
Oh God.
We know we can't be hanging out with Tatum.
Yeah, honestly, working liaison work is probably the best. Celebrity guest handling, liaison work, celebrity security, whatever I'm working with the guests is a lot of fun. Just because I've become friends with so many of the guests over the years, and making that transition from fan to friend is always a very rocky one. I feel like a lot of people fumble the ball when they're in a position of sorts, and I didn't go into it trying to be anyone's friend. I just went into it trying to have fun and meet my favorite voice actors or favorite actors at different cons. And it just kind of sometimes personalities work out, and it just happens to work. I didn't even know Michael was a guest at our con. I didn't know who Michael was when we actually became friends. So that's why I think we became such good friends, is we just had like a long conversation, and then we just had a very funny circumstance. And then we eventually became really good friends, and it was awesome. And I didn't know who he was at all.
And then you end up getting pulled out on stage when he does his 18+ panel.
Yes. Now I am part of the diocese. That is correct. We were actually that night, the night that I met him was the night that he invented that panel. So, our conversation ended with him saying, all right, I have to go run this panel and I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I was like, what do you mean you have to run the panel? And we were having, I won't recap it, but let's just say it was in, PG-13 plus conversation about like ridiculous words, and like we were definitely nothing for a radio or TV, but it was hilarious. It was all in good jest and fun. And he said, he stood up and he said, I'm gonna have to go. I have to go run this panel. And I was like, oh, do you work for the con? Like, I've worked for the con for a couple years. I've never seen you. And he goes, no, I'm a guest. And I was like, oh, so you're like an attendee that's running a panel. That's awesome. Like, that's so cool, man. And he's like, no, I'm the guest of honor here. And I was like, oh, I'm fired. Like, that's it. Like, this is how I get fired tonight. Like, I'm never going to work in another con again. Like, and so we just went to his 18 plus panel and we showed up, and I very high fidelity held up a sign with one of the words that we were using. And he screamed it through the mic with hundreds of people screaming it back at me. And he had taken our conversation and made it to be part of the joke. And so I didn't realize that. So when the entire room screamed it at me, I freaked out and again thought I was being fired. And then he had us come up and watch the show. And it was a ton of fun. And that's how we became really good friends. But I definitely thought I was being fired that day.
We've all had those moments, I think, of oops. For my biggest bonehead with a voice actor actually happened at Anime Boston this year.
I was going to say, you're going to tell the Griffin Burns story again.
Yeah. We were very lucky to get press at Anime Boston. We're waiting for the Griffin Burns press conference.
Now, mind you, everyone's got masks on.
Right.
So, one, you can't always recognize everybody, and two, talking and listening is not an easy feat.
And we're all standing outside of a locked room waiting for the doors to open and the press to be allowed in.
And what we didn't know was part of this cluster was Griffin Burns.
Oh.
Because the staff person who was supposed to be with him was apparently had wandered off to go find the person who had the key to the room.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So I, not knowing it was Griffin, turned and was like, oh, which media outlet are you with? Trying to make small talk with some of the other media outlets and network. And he goes, oh, I'm Griffin Burns. And I'm like, I'm a moron.
I do that way too often, so it's okay. Don't even worry about it. I feel so bad just because I haven't watched, like I said, there was such a long period of time where I just didn't watch anything. I barely got to play video games. So now I'm so far out of the loop that people are like, hey, I'm this person. And I'm like, cool.
Well,
I don't know what that means.
See, half the time that's me. Anime Boston, I think, was the epitome of that because I watch most of my anime subbed.
Oh, yeah.
And so meeting American voice actors for anime I've watched, but not in English, it gets interesting because it's like, oh, crap. But then it's like, oh, these are anime I really like and enjoy. Well, I'm just going to pretend I actually know who these people are and start asking questions about the characters and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then sound like I know what I'm doing.
The same Griffin Burns press conference, she gets called out because she was talking about one of his scenes, and he's like, "Oh no, it's this." Because he overheard her talking.
Because I had gotten two characters backwards,
right?
And he corrected me, and I was just like, "Oh shit! This is what I get for running my mouth."
Yeah, honestly, I was a big dub fan when I first started watching anime, and I'm sure you both can relate. Like the show that got me into like anime as we know it, like not like back when I used to watch Voltron as a kid because we didn't know that was anime. You know what I mean? Like that was just a Sunday morning cartoon or whatever, Saturday morning cartoon. Same thing with like for me, like Gundam Wing and I think it was Gundam Wing and it was Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. Those were on in the mornings at like 6 a.m. and 6:30. So again, I didn't like those weren't animes to me because I didn't know they were anime at the time. I just thought they were cartoons. But the first one that I knowingly knew was an anime, started to understand what anime was it was manga. It was from the Shonen Jump magazine from back in the day. And it was Naruto. And that was like the first one where I finally started to understand what anime was. And that's where I started going back and watching everything. But back then, like to watch anime, most of us had to go on eBay and buy like 4 disc sets where they would release like 4 clearly bootlegged like DVDs, and they would like print them as like a whole set that you would like unfold as a box.
The upside, the person who got me into anime, my best friend from high school, her part-time job was at Suncoast in one of the malls. And so
Suncoast Movies. I used to be an assistant manager there.
She was a key holder for a number of years, and subsequently the manager got to a point where she basically got to order literally whatever anime she wanted.
Nice.
And subsequently she ordered whatever she would order for the store, she'd end up ordering at least one copy for herself.
Right.
And employee discount and whatnot. And then there's a story involving her bringing a VHS tape to my house because we had a TV in the basement. And my baby sister, we were in high school, my sister was about 4 at this point, and trying to pause a VHS tape when a 4-year-old sneaks down the stairs, and of course at the worst possible moment in the show, where there's all the gratuitous nudity.
Right. The fan service, as it were.
And trying to make sure the 4-year-old doesn't see this, because by this point my parents didn't necessarily know what I was watching and they didn't question anything.
Right.
But I know they wanted to.
Right. Yeah, so back then, like, I would, because of the way that you had to obtain anime, or at least the only way I knew how to obtain anime, I didn't know necessarily, I never made the connection that, like, well, Dragon Ball, when I watched it, it was in English. So, like, I just thought Naruto would never be in English. So I just watched it in Japanese, and then I'd watch other shows in Japanese. So a lot of shows I grew up watching in dub and in sub, and I never watched dub. I didn't really make those connections until I was like in probably like high school.
See, I didn't watch cartoons as a kid. Fair. So I never got into Sailor Moon, never got into Dragon Ball, never got into any of that stuff. So discovering anime as a 16-year-old in the middle 90s.
Right.
Turns out I like the weird stuff.
Fair. No judgment.
And I was introduced to anime, growing up, I had seen, different shows like Pokemon. I didn't know was anime.
Yeah.
I grew up with like Speed Racer, which is anime, and I didn't know that. But my first
Ronin
anime
Warriors
was
Inuyasha.
Yep.
So that was my first one because of Adult Swim.
One of my first experiences with dubs, one of the characters' voices, and we're talking, this was probably early 90s dubbing.
Right. Classic dubbing.
And you can definitely tell they gave one of the characters a really bad Southern accent. And we had gone through, someone had the box set out of my crew, and for my friend's 21st birthday, we basically binged most of it.
Love it.
But we did it. We ended up doing some parts. We ended up doing subs until too much alcohol had been consumed, and then we switched to dub.
Nice.
But the dub was, one character annoyed me so much I went back and watched the entire thing subbed.
Yeah, dubs were definitely hit or miss a lot more back in the day. Nowadays, I feel like they're a lot, like, either way, it could go either way.
Absolutely, I will agree with that, but it took a very long time and an argument with my husband to get me to that point. I will concede he was right.
Yeah. I mean, there are some anime that I will argue to the end of the day are 1,000 times better in dub, and that is just because either the content of it or how it relates to us as a subject matter. Yeah, like
go ahead. one of the ones that I watched dubbed that I will absolutely say was fantastic was Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, of course. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop. Among my favorites are like actually like newer, like My Hero Academia. I personally think is insanely perfect in English, and I think that has to do with kind of just the subject material because, growing up for like superheroes, in my opinion, have always been English speaking, just because I grew up in an English speaking world. So, when I think of a superhero, I think of DC, I think of Marvel, I think of all those things. So, watching superheroes in Japanese was actually hard for me. And that's actually probably one of the reasons I didn't initially like, I think it was called Tiger and Bunny, was because of the Japanese superhero motif. Whereas when I watch it in English, it just sat better with me. Plus, now that I have too many friends in the industry now, if I don't watch it in English, I feel bad. So
My Hero Academia, I will say we started watching it subbed. So it's one of those, once you start in one format, it's really hard to switch. One of the movies I accidentally bought tickets for the dub, and it was a really jarring experience because I was expecting everything to sound a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you drink, milk, but you thought it was, chocolate milk, and you're like, well, it's not as gross as I thought it was. It's just not what I thought it was. I've definitely drank like Mountain Dew and thought that it was Dr. Pepper, and it tasted horrible for like 2 seconds. And I was like, wait, no, it's just not Dr. Pepper. It tastes
it's good. It's not what I wanted.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And you were talking about, your good friend Brandon earlier. I will say my highlight from Connecticon was having him read this to me for his character. And I know I've showed it off before, but Brandon can read Japanese and speak Japanese. So having him tell me about his character and the interview they did with the cast of his character was absolutely like awe. I was in awe. I'm like, oh my God, Brandon is reading to me.
Oh, that's what I should do. No, one of these days, in theory, before I go back to Japan, I will actually be able to have a conversation in Japanese.
Nice. Yeah, I'm working on that.
That is the goal. We'll see how far I get.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got through Japan with like 8 sentences, like all of Japan with like 8 sentences, which I thoroughly will tell anyone who watches this. You can get through Japan and they will be 100% respectful and nice to you if you just try their language at all. Just try. You might sound dumb, but that's okay. They don't care. They appreciate you trying at all. And I got through the entire place by saying like 3 sentences to 3 to 8 sentences. God. Like as long as you remember like anything wa doko desu ka, it's that you're just asking where it is. Wa meaning whatever you said before it is the subject of the sentence. So if you say like 7-Eleven wa doko desu ka, that means like where is 7-Eleven, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I got through 99% of my Japanese interactions with sumimasen, watashi wa skoshi nihongo ga hanashimasu, eigo hanashimasu ka? Which is, excuse me, I only speak a very little bit of Japanese. Do you speak any English? And 90% of the time they'd say skoshi, which is like a little bit. And I was like, oh, sugoi. And then I would start talking in English. That got me through everywhere.
I will say when we were there, everything was getting set up, or everything was being constructed for the Olympics. What should have been the 2020 Olympics.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. We happened to be there the 2 weeks that the 2018 Olympics were going on.
Oh, okay.
And so trying to find anything in that I could understand.
Yeah.
It was difficult because between the time zones, what's popular there isn't necessarily popular here.
Yeah.
And all of the commentary in Japanese with no subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little different.
It was different. About what I got to watch was the opening ceremonies, because that was our layover on the way out.
Got it. Yeah,
And then I realized we're doing it, and I realized we're for this trip we're gonna be there in October, and we're basically going to see yet again things under construction for the next Olympic Games, because we're doing part of our trip is a week in Paris.
Nice. Yeah, we when we went all the way to Miyajima Island, and we ended up getting stuck in Osaka and all that stuff just to see this gate in the water, which is amazing. It was under construction, and it's still under construction, and they don't know if it's ever when it's going to be fixed. And I'm really upset about this, because all I wanted to take was pretty pictures of a sunset behind this damn gate in the water, and I'm just never gonna get it, and it's fine. But going back to what you were saying with Brandon, I always have to tell Brandon that I can't stand too close to him, because everything that I do, he just does better. And it's one of those things that anytime someone's like, "Oh man, you speak some Japanese," and I'm like, "Shh," and then Brandon's like, "Oh, I'm a level 3 interpreter or whatever," and I'm like, "That's fine." And he never brags, mind you. Brandon is not that type of person. He will actually just stay quiet and not tell his own story. I'll tell it because I just don't want someone finding out later and then building me up and then really just slamming me down afterwards. So I always tell Brandon, I'm like, "Brandon, I just can't stand next to you. It's okay. As long as I'm 4 feet away from you, it's cool." But if I'm directly next to you, then people might compare us, and they will realize that everything I love doing, you do, but better. So.
And Brandon seemed surprised, because we had met him many times before, but when I came, he had never seen that book before. Right. So when I opened it up to his character and was like, "Could I have your autograph?" He's like, "Wait, can I look through this?" And he's flipping through the pages, and he's like, "Oh my God, where did you get this?" And of course, got it from our sponsor, Home Circle Media, Gavin Goska, who's awesome guy, been a guest on the show multiple times. We've hung out at conventions. He's also a musician with Midnight Syndicate and does some of his own music stuff as well. And but he was just in awe of seeing everything in this book is Japanese, but the artwork is fantastic. And I have a lot of appreciation for the Japanese art books. I have 4 of them right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I have more that I'd like to get. It's just finding them or having the money to get them.
Right.
I love, I appreciate the Japanese culture. I can't speak the language. I would love to go. I would love to learn some of the language, but trying to find the time, when you were doing work and school and stuff like that. I work 2 jobs. I do this. Oh, yeah. This weekend was my 10th convention of the year, and I still have possibly 3 more planned.
Nope. Nope. Too much.
Possibly 3 more planned, and one we may be a guest at.
At this point, I have exactly 1 more convention for the year, and I'm working it.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have the stamina anymore, and honestly, I somewhere along the line. So I love going to anime conventions and comic conventions and everything, but if I'm not working them, then I'm paying to go. And comparatively, I usually get paid to go or compensated in some way to go.
Yep.
So to go back to just attending a convention to attend it, it's very hard because I have to justify and once you realize how much money you used to spend, I would spend $500-700 going to a convention if you combine the cost of the tickets plus the travel plus the hotel room. Plus food. Depending on it. Yeah, $500-700 is probably cheap compared for some of the cons. Yeah. But then as soon as I went, when I finally got my passport and I found out that I got round trip tickets to Australia for $1,300, and I was like, wait, that is about what I would pay to go to PAX East. So to go to PAX East, I can go to Australia for 10 days. What? I'm no, I can't do it. So now if I go to cons, I'm definitely working them or working for a friend or trying to make sure that it's not incurring any cost anymore. I think that's the point in my life that I've hit now. But like it's definitely one of those things where as soon as I found out how cheap it is to travel and how much I love traveling and how much wanderlust I have, I am just now at this point that I don't attend many cons unless I am motivated to do so.
And Ross in the chat says he's got no more cons the rest of this year, but he's got to save up for Anime Fest in February because Todd Habercorn and Rob Paulson are going to be there.
That's awesome. I don't think, does Rob Paulson still do Talking Tunes? I don't think he's done it.
I don't know if he does.
That was such a cool show. I loved that idea, reading scripts with different voice actors and different characters. Like I still go back and watch clips from that. It was excellent.
But that caught my eye because next weekend at Granite State Comic-Con in Manchester, New Hampshire, Todd Habercorn is a guest.
Oh, nice.
And I say that because if we have the money, we might be stupid next weekend. We already have an event planned for Saturday. Saturday, we are going to Smuggler's Notch in Vermont to watch the PDGA professional disc golfers for the Green Mountain Tournament. So the best disc golfers in the world, we're watching day 2 of their tournament on Saturday.
That's awesome.
Sunday, even though we just had a trip to Pennsylvania, if we have the money, are we going to be stupid and drive to Manchester, New Hampshire so we can say hi to Todd again?
Yeah.
A convention we've never gone to. We would have to pay to go in. And it would be fun to see Todd again, maybe this time without a mask. Connecticon, everybody had to wear the masks. But we did get into his Instagram,
So I will say, I actually know the owners of Granite State Comic-Con, and they are wonderful people. They are incredible people. They always put on such a good show. I highly recommend checking that out and checking out what they do. They're very closely associated with Double Midnight Comics in Manchester, New Hampshire. Yep. So yeah, the
I'm
owners.
sure it's too late to apply for press. So.
Fair. Yeah, that might be true.
I also, in my time, have done a fair number of gaming conventions.
Oh yeah.
Subsequently, my last con for the year is PAX Unplugged, where my husband and I will both be enforcing.
And the answer to Rob Paulson, yes, he's doing a reboot of Animaniacs.
Nice.
But yeah, if you do the tabletop thing, Unplugged is a lot of fun.
I definitely do the tabletop thing. So
I am getting into the tabletop thing.
Yeah. One of the things I've taken to lately is when building characters for not really lengthy epic campaigns.
Right.
Is what movie, video game, anime character can I build and be stupid?
That's awesome.
One of my current D&D characters, I accidentally started playing it like Todoroki.
Fair.
Because it's a dragon bloodline sorcerer.
Okay.
But with the Strixhaven stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out of my way to make sure the majority of my spells were either fire or ice.
Right.
And then didn't realize that that's exactly what I had done until someone in the game pointed that out to me when I did them back to back in combat.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then I just kind of kept going with it. So
one of my favorite random YouTubers, I don't even know their name, but they actually their whole channel, as far as I know, is based around how to make League of Legends characters in D&D. And like they break it down to an insane degree as far as like going through. And remember, it's not like they're not min-maxing when they're doing this. They're making it accurate to the character. So some of these characters are god awful. Like they're as like a D&D character, they would be horrible to play as effectiveness. But they would, like, this guy goes so deep into like cross-referencing things, and like, as long as your DM allows it, like this is a very standard, constellation for this instead of this, and blah 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 blah. And like he's like, you're gonna have to flavor the text of like how it's formed, but that's okay because of this and this and this. But he has an example of everything, and somehow he has successfully done it for like a ton of the characters. I don't know how many he has out now because there's over 100 league characters, so I guess he could keep going forever. But it was just such a great idea, and I had never actually thought about doing that. Like just taking a character and then taking inspiration from another source of media and then playing it in D&D.
Well, I did it. The first time I did it was actually a one epic campaign we had with the group that I've been playing with on and off since 2005 ish. And we were told to have A team characters and B team characters, and the night we were supposed to have our B team characters, I'd forgotten to build mine, but I showed up early, so it was well shit, what can I build in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And then I was going through, and the GM wanted no overlapping backgrounds for 5th edition.
Okay.
So I went, okay, what backgrounds are left for me to choose from? And I realized about halfway through my build that I had built a character from Legend of the Five Rings.
Oh, cool.
And most of our group played the card game for a long ass time, and I just ran with it. And everybody, and that was kind of the first time I did that. And then for a one shot with entirely different people, I did it. I made Maple from Bo Fury.
Okay.
To the point where it was a battle royale, last man standing. And so I went with a paladin build.
Okay.
And subsequently, I did the math the next morning, because this ran until like 2 a.m. and realized that I had taken damage equal to more than 3 times my max hit points.
Oh yeah, that's the paladin lifestyle. That's the paladin way of life.
And only about half the group realized what I had done. But we were doing this in Roll20, so I had my token was the anime image.
That's cool.
And the first person that saw it was like, "Oh shit, we're fucked."
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, John and Lisa from AAC are actually in one of the campaigns that I'm running. They are, for those of you who don't know, they're the owners of another anime convention. They,
Among others.
Yeah, among others. Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I guess they're proprietors of, I don't know how. Honestly, I don't even know how it works. AAC. I just know that there's Lisa and John, and there you go. So
no, I've known. Wait, potentially dumb question.
Yeah.
Knowing that you know those two, did you ever go to the Game Castle before he sold it?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
Then it is entirely possible we crossed paths there a long time ago.
Yeah, I used to go to all the meetings at AAC there too. We used to have the meetings on the mornings when they ran Warhammer, and I think it was the same morning that Pokemon was run. I could be wrong though.
Because we used to do Five Rings events, and on Saturdays when we would do tournaments and stuff, the Pokemon kids were all in the front. We had the middle tables, and the 40K. Everybody had their designated spots.
Yep.
And all of us knew everybody. And then when the Magic kids finally started showing up, and it was just a nope.
Fair. But yeah, so John and Lisa, they're in one of my campaigns, and I think about like 10 years ago, I stopped not stopped playing D&D. I mostly just run D&D now. But I highly recommend that everyone should get into D&D. It's a lot of fun. Even if you don't get into D&D, get into Pathfinder, get into some tabletop something. Get into Fate, get into anything, whatever keeps you interested. But it is a lot of fun because it is only held back by how creative you can be. And that is,
if you want a good laugh, Ken, look back on our YouTube channel to the show we did July 24th, where I played an RPG for the first time, and we did it live on the show.
It's awesome. I am going to have to check that out.
And
that was a lot of fun.
The game is called Fae. Our friend Jay Moores, who is a very talented comic artist and very talented artist, we've hung out at his, like my wife and I have hung out at his house. We've had tabletop games at their house. They've been to traveled all over the Northeast for conventions, selling his artwork, and now he designed this game. He just figured everything out. It coincides with the world that his comic book is set in.
That's cool.
And so, kind of a play test. We did it live on the air, and I was a first timer, and Angela, you had a friend who was a first timer that joined us as well.
Whereas
And
I've been role playing for a very long time, so I got given the character with healing powers.
Nice.
So I basically played very much not like I usually do and kind of let everybody else dictate.
Right.
So that everybody could get that full experience.
Yeah, I honestly, it always astounds me how many of my friends play games that are RPG based, but like don't play TTRPGs. And I'm like, but why? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but like what? Like you just played like 8 Final Fantasies in a row. Why would you not want to play like a D&D style game? And they're like, oh,
because Final Fantasy is not.
Well, no, that is true. Yeah,
I know. I realize as I say this, Final Fantasy is probably the video game franchise that I have put the most hours into, bar none.
She's like, but it's not D&D.
It is, but it's not. And
right, it's an RPG though, and that's like the difference is that one you are required to carry the story, the other one the story is told to you, and that's that is a big difference. And like, but overall, it always interested me in people that were very interested in like good storylines or things like that, but they just had no interest in. I've definitely been the gateway person for so many friends into tabletop RPGs. And my favorite story to always tell is there was I don't know if he was like a professional wrestler or something, but he was trying to talk trash about D&D on Twitter, and he tweeted out, he tweeted out like, I don't play D&D, like flexing in a gym. And then Joe Manganiello shared his Men's Health like sexiest man of the year cover. And he goes, I do. And like,
nope, I do remember that. And that was at the time, I don't know if he still is, the heel for AEW.
There you go. Yeah. So it makes sense why he would be talking trash about it. But it was just so funny just to watch like Joe Manganiello. Because like, I don't know if you guys know the story about Joe Manganiello. He's married to Sofia Vergara. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But very famous actress. He's a very famous actor. And they had a story that he once told where she was going to turn their basement into like a full yoga studio. And like right before they started to remodel it, he begged her to let him turn their entire basement into a D&D dungeon. And, he apparently succeeded. And they not only like, I mean, going into it, there's pictures online of it, and I highly recommend checking out. It's a weird thing to, you're looking up an actor's basement, but if you look up the photos, he has like a chandelier that's made from a beholder. He has full size like dragon skulls or dragon heads that are mounted all over the basement, and the basement's like bigger than probably my entire apartment. So I mean, you would assume they're well off. But it is the coolest place I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just love that like this is, arguably one of the most attractive people in Hollywood, from a physical male standard. And he's like the biggest D&D nerd in existence. Like he does not care. It was like when Vin Diesel came out and was, he co-wrote a D&D book, and people are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, we all play D&D. Like it's not a matter of like any difference. Like if you're into good storytelling and you're into creating unique stuff, like you'll be into tabletop RPGs of one sort of another. You just got to figure out which one's for you.
And knowing that you like the D&D, I saw you like racking your brain. Have you heard of Midnight Syndicate before or no?
I've not.
Well, here, let me share the screen for you because they actually have the only official Dungeons and Dragons soundtrack.
Oh, that's dope.
And it is available on Spotify because I have played it.
That's dope.
And Gavin, who is a part of Midnight Syndicate, is our sponsor with Home Circle Media.
Oh, hell yeah. That's
so I
cool.
plug them all the time because Gavin is an amazing individual. I bought a lot of merchandise from him. He provides prizes for us for giveaways at conventions, things of that nature. And their music, they've been around for many years. They do live shows in Ohio at one of the big theme parks out there.
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point. Like I think they're going to be doing shows again this year after taking a year or so off because of COVID. And but they do a lot of gothic horror type music.
Nice. Hell yeah.
But when he told me that they did a Dungeons and Dragons soundtrack, it's like anybody I know who plays, they have to know about this.
100%. Yeah, honestly, like whenever I think about like songs about D&D in general, the only thing I can think of is there used to be a comedian named Stephen Lynch. Well, he's still a comedian, he's just not as funny in my opinion. But Stephen Lynch, he was a singing comedian, and he did a song about D&D, or at least the perspective from the outside of D&D. And it was very funny because like his older brother would like pick on him for it throughout the song, and then in the end he ended up joining him to play. But all the stereotypes of like, you know, eating Funyuns and drinking Mountain Dew and like dressing up in capes and everything, like all the old stereotypes of D&D are in the song. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check this out because that sounds so dope. I already have it pulled up on my side. I have 3 monitors, so I'm like over here.
Nice. No, if there's one thing I'm finding out post-pandemic, it's literally it's interesting to see all of the convergence of the different fandoms.
Yeah.
Like the anime fans are also tabletop role-playing fans are also wrestling fans, and it's like, wait, when did this happen?
Yeah,
because it used to be that overlap was less than 2%.
Honestly, as strange as it is, I think COVID made people just okay with being nerds a lot more, or like just being open to being a nerd a lot more. And like it helps that like celebrities are coming out in it, and obviously like it'd be ignorant to say that like Critical Role didn't have a hand in it, just because, you know, it became like one of the fastest Kickstarters and largest Kickstarters of all time. It takes a lot of famous voice actors and then puts it in the limelight. Plus they have the animation, they have everything. But they also teamed up with people like, you know, like Vin Diesel and stuff like that to create unique experiences for celebrities, and celebrities start coming out and saying that they're nerds, and suddenly it's a cool thing to be a nerd, which is great. Like I'm not salty about it. I know some people get very salty and they're like, I was a nerd first. And it's like, well, yeah, but who cares?
Who cares? We're just welcoming more people to the fandom.
Why does I hate those people so much. Like,
yeah, the gatekeepers. Yeah, gatekeepers are strange.
We are just about out of time. Before we say our good nights to Ken, we want you to plug yourself, any social media, anywhere where people can find you, photography studio, if they want to book you for that. We call this our shameless plugging section, and the floor is yours.
I love it. I wish I had more stuff going on right now, but because I started a new job, I kind of had to put everything else on hold. I did create a new Instagram specifically for photography, which is going to be a primary source of where I plug everything, and that is just Ken Irons Photography, one word, straight across. My picture is me doing astrophotography in the background, so there it is. There I am, right there. But yeah, I don't have anything new. I did voice act in a audiobook, but I don't even have the link for that. I'll have to find that at some point and plug that somewhere. That was on my personal Instagram. And then other than that, you can go, you know what? I will shamelessly plug Brandon McInnes's Twitch channel because I am his head moderator. So it's twitch.tv/BranMCI, BranMCI, and like Brand Mickey. And yeah, so I just hang out in his Discord and his Twitch all day. That's all I do. I just hang out there and talk to everyone there. So just come hang out or see me at a con, and I hope to see you guys there.
Awesome. We want to thank our guest, of course, Mikey, who had to cut out early, and of course Ken Irons for joining us. It's always fun chatting with you. I'm so glad that we're finally able to bring you on the show and just talk nerd.
Yeah, it's been way too long, honestly, and like we need to do this again. I would absolutely love to come back.
Likewise. Where are you based out of?
I'm based out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Okay. So I do travel for photography stuff. So
you are about a stone's throw from where I grew up.
Oh, cool.
I grew up in Drake, Mass.
Fair. Oh yeah, that's really close. That's like really, really. I was like, oh, cool. Wait, no, I drive through Drake like every day. Like, yeah, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm Massachusetts native.
I grew up right on the state line.
Oh, cool.
Subsequently, I spent way too many hours as a teenager at the Pheasant Lane Mall and the mall at Rockingham Park.
Yeah, I feel like everyone that grew up in the Lowell Drake area spends all their time in Pheasant Lane Mall. That's how it works. So.
And I spent all my time at Emerald Square Mall because I grew up in Attleboro.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Right down on the Rhode Island border. I was spent the first 13 years in Attleboro and then in Cape Cod in Wareham, Mass. And now I'm northern New York up in Plattsburgh.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm in Boston proper, but I still have a lot of friends up in that neck of the woods, so I'm.
But we do thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Join us next week as we welcome Ari Lynn, who is a very talented cosplayer. She's going to be talking about her experience from PuchiCon back in Pennsylvania when we were up there, and also from CCE this past weekend. Wednesday night, we may do a CCE review show where we'll talk about our experiences and things of that nature. Also, keep an eye out for our summer review and fall preview shows that we are in the works of planning on Wednesday nights. And can't stick around because I had an idea I wanted to run by you. To find out what that's going to be, you have to stay tuned for more Anime-Zing Radio right here on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.